Hello, Internet! Today we're going to be talking about skills. The thing that 95% of people who have 5 bazillion more subscribers than I do not have when they play video games. Now, I'm just kidding. I have mad respect for you guys that have been established, and I hope to reach that point someday. But in Fire Emblem Warriors, there are things known as skill crests, and these are the things that help define your effectiveness in playing this game and clearing maps with little to no hassle. Now, obviously, theoretically, any skill and any character can let you net an S rank, even at the highest difficulties, but it's by using skill crests that you can reach that point that much more efficiently. So we're actually going to go and take a quick look at all the skills, and even though this isn't technically a tier list, I am going to be sort of like naming these skills as we, like, kind of in descending order. So we're going to start off with like the best skills, the skills that I personally recommend, as myself, as someone that's played this game for who even knows how long. But these will be my hearty recommendations from most recommended all the way down to least recommended. Now, there are a grand total of 23 skills available. And the thing is, you're probably going to want to know, especially for those of you guys that are going to be picking up the game, maybe over the holidays, or maybe you guys are kind of on the fence of getting this game. It's very important to have an idea of what skills you're going to be investing in, because the thing about skills, they're difficult to get. You have to farm up your supports, and I don't even know why, but farming supports is really difficult. They could have made it easier. I wish there was like a temple blessing that you can purchase with your gold materials, just so you can actually make supports go by faster. And in order to get skills on other characters, you need to have an A rank for each character, or at least for the character in question. So, without further ado, let's get things rolling with the skill crest that I personally believe to be the most versatile and most important one, and that's Astra. Astra, ladies and gentlemen, this is a fantastic skill. It's really funny because when this game first came out, people were saying things like that maybe we might be overrating the usefulness of this skill. And the thing is, maybe to a degree, yeah, it's not necessarily that you notice a massive difference in some cases, but the thing is though, there are some characters that benefit greatly from Astra. Not to mention, the very existence of Astra feels like something that every character needs to have, and it's because it makes the game that much faster. You're playing a Warriors game, you want to be fast-paced, you want to go from here to here as quickly as possible, and Astra helps you reach that end. It is the most important skill, in my opinion, to get if you want to use any character, really, and not even necessarily because the attack speed increase in and of itself is a game breaker. No, it's not a game breaker, it's a game changer. It completely changes the momentum that you feel as a player when you're playing the game, and honestly, I can't really think of any reason to swap this skill out except for that you don't have it, because again, like I said earlier, getting supports is tough. But yeah, Astra, number 1 skill, and the second best, the silver medal, is Trample. Now obviously you see my bias starting to come out, because Astra belongs to Ryoma, and Trample belongs to Camila, and these are both characters that I've put as the number 1 best pairing in the entire game of Fire Emblem Warriors. But this is very important, because Trample, in and of itself, it doesn't seem very impressive, but it gives a 10% damage increase to your overall damage output when you're fighting against foot soldiers, and that is going to be the vast majority of people you will be fighting against. You're going to be fighting primarily against foot soldiers. Obviously, there are dudes on horses, there are dudes on wyverns, there are dudettes on Pegasus, or on Pegasi. And the thing is, though, that's not that bad considering that most of those people already have their own weaknesses that you can exploit. Whereas with Trample, you're going to be getting 10% damage to the vast majority of the entire roster and every single enemy unit you'll be going against. So it's kind of for that reason that I actually personally believe that Trample and Astra are like semi-mandatory skills to be having on every character, and if you have the resources and the materials to get it, then I highly recommend getting that one. Remember, each skill that we have here is like 1,500 to 1,000. Not very expensive at all. It's like finishing one map, essentially. So yeah, like, you have nothing to lose. Not to mention, actually, in comparison to most supports, I think Camila's are probably the easiest ones to get, because she finishes maps so quickly. Next one we're going to be looking at is Solidarity. Now, the thing about Solidarity is that it provides a damage increase, not for the person that has equipped it, but for their partners. So the nice thing about this is that you're actually technically not sacrificing a skill slot. Actually, most of the time you will be conserving the skill slot for something else because there are plenty of useful skills to be going after. But that being said, though, if you have a playstyle like mine, where you're constantly switching between two people, then Solidarity is definitely useful because you have consistent damage. And honestly, the thing about Solidarity is that it is the difference in later game cases between a 2-combo kill or a 1-combo kill. It really does save time in the long run, because remember, the more damage you're doing, the more time you'll be saving. And you actually notice that as I'm going through all these skills, the ones that I tend to find more useful and recommend are the ones that just give flat damage boosts, and I think that's really useful overall. So next thing will be Takumi's skill. Skill plus 10. Now, the thing about skill is that it is one of the two stats that actually scale, or that your dual warrior specials scale with. Not to mention that skill is the most important when you're going for critical strikes. I highly recommend this on everyone because when you're fighting against higher leveled enemies or captains, you're going to be wanting to go for critical gauges more often, otherwise you won't make as much headway into them. Skill increases the damage of crits. It might not seem like much, but the thing is though, that additional 10, if you're like, you know, let's just say you had to critical someone like 4 times, then like you will notice that there will be a difference that has accumulated that you didn't, the damage that you didn't get when you were going for those crits. It's a very, very important one, and like skill is one of the most versatile stats when it comes to your overall damage output, because like I said earlier, it was for warrior specials, dual warrior specials, criticals, very good overall. Definitely look into getting these ones. And for this next one, there's actually going to be a 2-way tie for the next skill, and it's going to be Strength plus 10 and Magic plus 10. Now, 10, like, you know, an extra 10 points might not seem that much, but the truth is, though, when you are working your way towards the late game or the end game, you're going to be noticing that like most of your efforts will be put towards actually optimizing your overall damage output. We're going to make the assumption that there will be a point where your desired unit is level 99 and all things are maxed out. The one thing you'll want to look forward to the most if you find that you don't do enough damage and you feel like you're spending too much time fighting against captains is to actually look at whatever their highest stats are, or at least for offensive based stats, and then maximizing them even further by the use of these skills. So Magic plus 10 if you were a Tome user or a Topsy-Turvy user, and then Strength plus 10 for basically everybody else. They're both extremely useful in the future. And speaking of useful, Luna is next, and Luna is very interesting in that even if you don't have super high luck, usually I would recommend getting this one if you have like maybe 90 or above. The way that Luna works, I wish the game did a better job of explaining this, but essentially, Luna actually lowers the defense of your opponent by, I believe it was like 0.33% per hit. Like 0.33% per hit times your unit's skill stat. So in the case of like someone that has 100 skill, like, I don't know, Liana, she has like 100 and something skill. I mean, it's not skill, sorry, luck. So that would be about like 3.3% per hit, and she can hit multiple times, so she can constantly be proccing this. And the thing is, it lowers defense and resistance, not to mention this also scales with the armor strike abilities, so you're actually going to be deleting people really quickly. So if you have like decent luck, or like if you have at least 90 luck on a unit, then this must be on that character, otherwise you're doing yourself a huge disservice. If you have less than that though, then don't worry about it too much. You might want to consider it later if you genuinely feel like your damage output could be better. But yeah, if you're like high luck though, you must get this. Please get this. And in terms of continuing down the useful one, this will be the first quote-unquote defensive stats, and it's going to be Armored Blow. Now, you're actually going to be noticing that as we descend, we're actually not going to be looking at defensive skills that much. It's not necessarily because defensive skills aren't good. It's because we're making the assumption that your playstyle is more aggressive and that your playstyle is like someone that has been playing warrior games before. Obviously, there are those of you guys that are very new to these kinds of games. You've never played a Warriors game before. You're probably watching this video right now because you're very curious about how these things work. So, like, obviously, this might, you might want to pick and choose based on what you personally believe. That's what this whole list is, really. But I'm mainly speaking as someone that played Hyrule Warriors. So if you guys have played Hyrule Warriors and you've played like that for however long, then I'm going to make the assumption that your playstyle is kind of like mine. And Armored Blow is very good because, like, even if it's a character that does not have like super long combo animations, I still recommend getting it, especially if you're starting out and you're not used to dodging yet, because there's like no intuitiveness when it comes to dodging enemy attacks. They kind of just attack whenever they want and interrupt you. It's no fun at all. Like, I'm very vocal that some characters need it more than others, but like generally speaking though, it's very good. And then once you're more confident in your ability to time your combos, your ability to go in and attack when you have the opening, then that's when you can start swapping out Armored Blow for something more useful, or for like a quality of life skill, anything like that. But it's definitely higher up on my list. And another useful skill past that point will be Awakening. Now, Awakening is very interesting in that it increases damage dealt by a decent amount, but only when you're in Awakening mode. Now, depending on how you play, this might or might not apply whatsoever. Like, when I first started off playing, and I feel like a lot of people, like, I think I would recommend this for people that are starting off in this game, is to capitalize on using Awakening whenever you can. It's fairly easy to build Awakening gauge in this game. It's not as stupid broken as the magic meter from Hyrule Warriors. So yeah, you get yourself the extra damage, you're able to clear out objectives a lot more easily. If you're fighting against super tanky captains and you need more damage, then this will be sort of your wild card. So yeah, that's Awakening. There's nothing special about it, and it's definitely one that you'll want to consider if you're playing early on in your progression. And also, speaking of quality of life, Paragon. Now, Paragon's very interesting in that it has very little to do with like the character's damage, other than the fact that it levels them up. Now, the thing about the Paragon stat, as I recall, I actually don't know, I wish I tested this beforehand before I started recording this, but I believe Paragon also works when you are paired up and you're not fighting. So basically, you would have maybe, I don't know, Camila on points, and then you would have a partner with Paragon, and they would still get a bonus. The bonus is quite useful, but usually I would just recommend it for when you are grinding for the long haul. That being said though, if you are going to be grinding levels for the long haul, and you're going to start saving up money to start buying levels on the training fields, then you must have this skill for that character. So that's the kind of thing though, like, you'll probably have a surplus of Marth essences, just because there might be some characters that might be easier to level up than others. But if you want to experiment, that it can't hurt to start getting some Paragon on them. Definitely look forward to that. And now we're kind of at the middle of the list, and it's going to be Luck plus 20. Now, this is more than anything a luxury skill. This is, like, if you have high luck, it actually makes a pretty noticeable difference. It's not a huge difference. Again, we're talking, like, I think then we would be at the point where we're talking about optimizing damage. But the thing is, like, the Luck plus 20, it's a nice way to bridge the gap for people that have less than 90 luck to sort of be able to shine and use Luna. But the problem is though, you are wasting you're wasting a skill slot to accommodate another skill, and then the skill that you were using to be able to use it. You know what I mean? So like, to bridge that gap, so you're actually consuming two. And the thing is, like, you're restricted to 6 skill slots on each character, provided that you also use a Master Crest on them to level them up to the next class. So that's the thing though, like, Luck plus 20, I feel that it's very much a luxury stat, but then on certain characters where you can use it as a luxury stat, it's actually quite good. You can use it on characters like Marth, Lucina, Lissa, Liana, like any character that already has a good amount of luck. I think this would be a nice way to help sort of optimize their damage. That being said though, like, you are kind of restricted to your 6, technically 4, like, you know, everyone starts off with like about 4 on their lists, I believe. Is it? Or no, sorry, or maybe everyone has 3. Like, usually I would make the assumption that people have about 4, maybe they upgraded this once, and then they don't know if they want to go for Talent Crest 2 or 3. Because, remember, like, the nigh-on mandatory skills would be Astra and Trample, so that's 2 down, so now you're down to your last 4. And then maybe there's going to be, like, Solidarity. If you play anything like me, then that would be another one lost. Obviously, you don't always have to have Solidarity, but it is an option for people that like to switch. So really, it's your call. If you feel like it's worth it, then totally go for it. But I feel that personally, it would only be really good on certain characters. So the next one will be Payday, and Payday is a very interesting one in that it's more like you only get it if you want passive gains in your gold. That's kind of how it is. Like, even if you were to get, like, luck plus 20, I remember I did this with Lynn on a Maniket stage, where she was one-shotting every enemy in her path, and I think I killed, like, 4,000 people. I got 80,000 gold out of that deal, which is good. But the thing is, though, all the time spent, where I could have just used any other character that could get even a higher kill count for, like, maybe 30k or less, but then it's also made up for the fact that we're also going to sell all these weapons. It's up to you. If you want to have passive goals and you're going to be, and you know you're going to be, like, just buckling down and then going through all of history mode, and you need the extra gold, then yeah, stick on a character with Payday. Go ahead. But it's not a super game changer, at least in my opinion. Obviously, for some people, you might need to get as much gold as you can get. But yeah, like, it's up to you. Really, really up to you. And the one after this is going to be Draco Shields. Now, Draco Shields will probably be the very first actual pure defensive one. And the nice thing about this is that, like, you don't waste a slot for the Vanguard unit, meaning that you will just be increasing someone's defenses while expending a slot for a different character, perhaps even a character that is less leveled than the one that you're using. So Draco Shield, like, the thing about defensive skills in general, I actually don't like them very much, and the reason why is because defense crests, like on the defensive tree on the crest market, they're already insanely useful that it actually doesn't matter if you don't use these defensive ones. I'm also going to talk about Aegis and Payday pretty soon, but Draco Shield, it's the best one out of all of the quote-unquote defensive crests, aside from Armored Blow, obviously, but that feels more offensive because in order to use it, you need to attack people. So Draco Shield in and of itself, at least you can use it on another person, so you don't actually have to worry about wasting it. I guess that's why I would consider it the best one. But I feel that when it comes to defensive, like, I'll talk about it more later, but, like, when it comes to defensive crests in general, I feel like they need to be super broken in order to be even worthy of consideration. It's weird, because that's the thing about Warriors games, though, is that if it's not broken, or if it's not at least very strong, then, like, it doesn't feel worth the investment. It doesn't feel worth the one of your 6 precious slots, you know? But yeah, that's just how I feel about it. And the next one will be Soul. Now, Soul is very interesting as well, because again, just like with the other ones, just like with all of the other defensive crests, is that, like, increases with luck. But the problem is, though, I wish it didn't scale with luck. I wish it scaled with, like, some other skill, because, like, I get that in the games it scales with luck, sure, but the thing is, though, luck turns people into a powerhouse in this game. Like, if you have high luck, you're probably amazing. Like, yeah, because you get the Luna, you get the armor strikes, and then you get the Astra to go with your Luna. It's, like, luck is more of an offensive stat than a defensive stat. No, sorry. It is an offensive stat in comparison to a defensive stat. So, with Soul, though, it's not that it's bad. Like, if you're new and you like using Cordelia a lot, then you're probably going to have quite a few of her supports bonus materials, and you can heal yourself. But the thing is that there's plenty of ways to heal yourself already as it is. Again, if this is a Warriors game, you're not going to get hit much anyway. Like, and you can open a green jar, heal yourself. You can ask a cleric to heal you. They're not bad. Like, Soul's not bad. It's just that, like, you know, like, I guess it's because they never really considered that luck or lucky units will actually be super strong, but, you know, that's one thing, and we'll just move on then. So, the next one also will be another two-way tie, Live to Serve and Potence Potion, Liana and Rowan's Essence. Now, the reason why these were made is because, like, it was for people that are very new, I suppose. Like, they're very new, they don't really care about using an iconic character as much. And that being said, though, Rowan and Liana have an amazing moveset. Let me just put it out there. If you don't feel like using a character from Fates or Awakening, then yeah, they use these guys. They're a lot of fun. But in terms of, like, how you use them, though, again, I feel like these are more geared towards the people that are just starting out in the progression, and it would be like you're just going to be using it on the characters that own them. because again, like using a staff is to correct mistakes, using medicine to correct mistakes. It's useful, but the thing is though, you're probably not going to use it past a certain point, but that's okay. Like honestly, I feel that if you're a new player and then you stop using these skills, that means that you've gotten better as a player, and that's good. You have improved, my friends, and that's something to be proud of. So the next one will also be another two-way tie, because they basically have the same concept, and that's Aegis and Payday. Now, these, I feel like these would be better if they didn't increase with luck. Like, I guess like Frederick doesn't have the highest luck. I guess Xander has some pretty good luck, so I guess he could make use of it. But again, it's I feel like these should have been more OP in order to consider using it. Because like, you know, who would switch out Aegis? Like, oh, sorry, who would switch out Astra so that they can fit Aegis onto their build? You know, like it's. And again, the scales with luck. Luck is an offensive stat, but this is a defensive skill. I guess from a design perspective, they wanted to just balance it out. But like, you know, you could though. Again, remember, people play differently, right? I'm not going to assume that everyone plays like me. I'm also going to make the assumption that some people prefer to have defenses because they're not a big fan of taking damage at all. That's cool. So if you want to go for these defensive ones, you totally can. But again, Draco Shield is pretty useful as it is. It's again, it's your call, but man, they could have made it better. Like scale. Like I wish this scaled with resistance because you know, like we're going to make the assumption that we're going to patch up whatever weaknesses a person has. So this will like for people that have high resistance, so they can resist magic, and then this skill will also scale, and then they'll be able to block physical attacks. And then this one will be the opposite, where it scales with defense, because we're going to make the assumption that people can defend against physical attacks, but they have trouble with tomes, you know? Oh, well. It's a thing, though. Like, you could have it. And speaking of things that could have been better, max HP plus 50. 50, I think this is actually... Maybe I would actually move this a little bit higher, just because when you're first starting out, 50 is actually a very substantial amount. Problem is, though, is that once you are late game, no, not even late game, mid game, you're not going to need 50 extra HP, because remember, like, we're probably not going to get hit. If you pass through a fortress, you're probably going to heal 50. It's not something that you would consider, which is too bad, because oh well, I maybe if they made it have, like, you know, max HP plus 100, I think I would have definitely considered this a little bit more often, because 100 is not something to sneeze at, but 50 though, like, again, like I said earlier, pass through a fortress, you heal 50. Yeah, it could have been better. And here's the other two-way tie: defense plus 10 and resistance plus 10. Like, so strength plus 10 and magic plus 10, I picked them as being one of the more useful ones, because you want to optimize your damage. Why would you try to optimize your defense? And I guess, yeah, again, remember, like, if you're playing early on, then these might be more useful. But more often than not, by the time you do have enough essences, or by the time you have enough materials to get defense plus 10 and resistance plus 10, you're probably already pretty well off on your own. And you're at a point where you can just, you know, dodge everything or heal everything. Like, you can use, like, potent potion and heal everyone. But then for this one, it's just like, I'm a little bit more tanky, and it's not that good. Again, just like with this skill, if they made this OP, like they made it help be like defense plus 50, I might have considered it, or resistance plus 50. That would have been pretty good. But unfortunately, yeah, that's just something that just didn't happen. Sorry if I'm not sounding very enthused, but like that's how I felt when I saw these skills. And the next one is going to be Pass. So I picked Armored Blow to be one of the more useful ones, because you will continuously be attacking anyway. It's great. For this one, you will be moving, but things though, you move when you dodge, and you don't get any damage. Whereas Pass, you get damage, but you'll still be moving. It's too bad, because Pass is like one of my favorite moves in Fire Emblem, because it lets you go through enemy units. I thought that was really, really cool, but not to mention this is Lynn's skill. Like, Lynn has like everything going for her, so I guess it kind of makes sense that her skill crest isn't really that useful. But man, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of like a hypothetical replacement for what we got, but man, nothing's come to me right now. Oh well, Lynn's good, so I will not dwell on that. And finally, for the bottom of the barrel, speed plus 10. Oh boy. So when I found out, I remember I was looking up some stuff on the internet about what each stat does, because this game does nothing to really explain. Like, there's like one, like, I think window that tells you what, gives you a rough idea of what stats do. And when I found out that speed plus 10 increases the duration of Awakening mode, I was super excited. I thought, yo, man, I'm gonna do this on a Tiki build, and she's gonna be dragging forever. Oh boy, no. This gives you literally 1 second of Awakening gauge. Whoopee. So excited. Like, you can't see it right because I don't have a face cam, but I'm very excited. No, it's not good. Like, plus 20? Plus 50? Extra 5 seconds? Ooh, now that's something I'd switch something out for. Like, obviously, I'm not trying to say that, like, you know, in order for a skill to be good, it has to be, like, something that can be on the level of, like, Astra, for example, but, like, plus 10 is 1 second, literally 1 second. I'm not sure about what you can do with 1 second of Awakening. I know what you can do with 5 seconds, so that's an eternity. It could use a bit of a buff, or at least change how speed affects. Yeah, basically just change how speed affects Awakening gauge. I think that would have been a nice little patch or a buff to some people. But it's really weird that speed actually isn't very good of a stat, which is really funny because in Fire Emblem, speed's actually super useful because it lets you attack more. But yeah, I hate to leave this video on such a bummer note, but basically let me just show you what I would consider like the optimized stat build. Yeah, I'm gonna just show you guys at the convoy, I guess. But yeah, kind of like what I would consider the optimal stat build would probably be something like this. So obviously you want to have Astra, or you want to prioritize getting Astra, because that increases the speed. More speed, it does technically also mean more DPS. Actually, it literally means more DPS. But also, it makes the game more fun. That's the thing. That's why I find it so essential. It just makes Fire Emblem Warriors a lot more exciting to play. And then you get the skill plus 10, because this is a very versatile stat, and then you will have the skill that increases your overall damage. Obviously, like this is a level 99 character, I want to max out my damage as much as possible. Trample for the free additional 10% damage to the majority of the people you'll be fighting. In the case of Liana, it'll be a Luna, because she will be, you know, like she can proc that fairly often with her 99 luck. It's almost 100, so, you know, definitely make use of that. Not to mention, I gave her Armor Strike. If you haven't seen that movie, I'll put that in at the end of the video about what I used. And Solidarity, because I like switching between, but I can, especially in this case, switch it out for something else if I don't feel like switching out of her. So it'll be something like, yeah, I'll probably give her Awakening, because I'll put her into Awakening mode and she will delete Velzark. Or I can give her what's another nice one? Luck plus 20 to give even more damage for her Luna. There's a lot of good stuff that you can use, but that's kind of what I would consider like a baseline. So like semi-mandatory would be like Astra and Trample, and then Solidarity if you like, you know, if you like switching between characters, you don't like to just use the one character for the entire map. And then yeah, then your damage skills and Luna if you can. So yeah, that should basically do it. I'm sorry if I went on for a long time, but this is basically every skill explained and prioritized. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.